Hello, and welcome to a special Fresco Harmony episode of the Drywall Podcast. We have Spencer Dahlen, who's back with us. Actually, I recorded this conversation with Spencer prior to our episode 107. Spencer reached out and a while back to inquire about a significant Fresco Harmony project, and I decided to capture the conversation on Zoom. We discussed color and square footage pricing and the market up in Kalispell, Montana, where he's from, and how Spencer could leverage his existing drywall model by simply adding Fresco Harmony. Why would you be like, okay, well, I don't do plaster, but I think I can do this Fresco Harmony stuff? What would make you say that?
Because I'm really good with a trowel, and I like the artistic capability of it. I like to be able to kind of to meet a client's, interests. If I can create a sample board and then show them, okay, well, do you want, I was pretty much just marketing for like accent walls and mantles. But once I realized that there was a market and these people wanted to do their whole homes in it, because it saves them money, because paint right now is at like anywhere from $1.50 to $3 a square foot for paint up here in the valley.
This is a very short episode. This was a mere phone conversation, but it's a good example of how I field calls when individuals and professionals in the industry call me to inquire about projects, color, any kind of information about Fresco Harmony, and it's a good illustration of what you might expect, and it might answer a bunch of questions that you may have or may not have about Fresco Harmony. Be sure to catch my entire episode with Spencer. We dive into the history of his company and how he got into the trade on episode 107 on the Drywall Podcast. But for now, a special edition Fresco Harmony episode of the Drywall Podcast with Spencer Dahlen out of Kalispell, Montana. Let's get into it. Spencer, what's your last name, Spencer?
Dahlen.
Dahlen, and tell me your company.
De Silva Drywall and Construction.
Beautiful.
So it's my mom's maiden name is we're Portuguese, so it was my grandfather's last name. But trying to keep it in the family a little bit. But
nice. Do you speak Portuguese?
My mom does, but no, I don't. I was born here in the U.S., but she was actually born in São Paulo, Brazil. But
cool.
Yeah.
Are you a big soccer fan?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I don't watch it like crazy, but I definitely have an interest in it.
Right. Okay, so no problem, man. And you don't have to look at the camera. I wanted to get this on film because I've never done it. But when people call and ask like questions, especially about color or something important, I'm always like, shoot, man, go ahead, order up, dude. This is informal.
Yeah, no, and I want to get more familiar with the product, dude. It's something that I have a huge interest in, and I don't think I'm, too comfortable with the plaster. I've had guys, they're like, oh, you should get into plaster. I'm like, there isn't a huge market for it. And this is a great opportunity. I had another thing that it's called Vero Metal, is something I was interested in. I don't know if you're familiar.
No.
So it's actually a metallics paint that you have to go take a training course for. It's like a 1 week training course, but Vero Metal is a metallic based paint that goes on, but it's really interesting. You can pretty much turn anything into it's very similar to a metallic finish. And so wood, then this is for exterior too, so you can spray literally anything with it.
Cool.
But I think you'd be really interested in the product too. But yeah, Vero Metal, VERO and metal, yeah. And so that was kind of what I was going to get into, because I've had a lot of high-end contractors, specifically New West. And New West is that was the first thing they asked me was if I was into the Vera metal and then also plaster but they do all their houses in plaster, and these are like 6,000, 8,000 square foot homes. And I mean, it's plaster's kind of a dying trade. So it was just an alternative for me to be able to get into that.
Why would you be like, okay, well, I don't do plaster, but I think I can do this Fresco Harmony stuff? What would make you say that?
Because I'm really good with a trowel, and I like the artistic capability of it. I like to be able to kind of to meet a client's interest. If I can create a sample board and then show them, okay, well, do you want, I was pretty much just marketing for like accent walls and mantles. But once I realized that there was a market and these people wanted to do their whole homes in it, because I mean, it saves them money, because paint right now is at like anywhere from $1.50 to $3 a square foot for paint up here in the valley.
You're in Kalispell, Montana, too. So I've talked to people in Montana that are doing Fresco Harmony. We've got Chris Bush, a couple others. He's in Bozeman, but I know that those prices up there are pretty inflated.
They really are, and it's also competitive. I mean, if you go the further north it seems like you go, the more expensive the prices get for drywall.
Okay.
And I want to get into Fresco because it sets me apart from every other drywall contractor, because they just do drywall, but to have a niche, is really important to me. Just it sets me apart from everyone else. And, you're catering to a lot of people coming from California. And I mean, this place is just blown up. I mean, to a point where some builders are out, or contractors and builders are out 3 years.
Even if you're doing accent walls, it's like, dude, I'll throw in, give me the job for what I'm asking, and I'll throw in an accent wall for free. You're talking 3 hours, dude. No big deal. So I'm always of that, Jim, man. Show the builders what you're up to, even if they're not interested. If they see a wall, they will get interested.
Oh yeah.
How did you find out about the Fresco?
TikTok.
Shut the hell up.
Cam. Yeah, I was watching Cam's videos and I was like, holy hell, I was like, that looks freaking cool. And every time I showed a client, they're like, the swirl texture's a little extravagant, but the Martinez black just looks beautiful, man. I mean, it really does. People love the way that it looks. It's very modern, but still kind of rustic looking. And, and people they just love it, and they're like, well, where do I get the product? And is it European? And I'm like, no, it's out of New Mexico. So,
I mean, you could tell them it's very extravagant. And here's the kicker. I can do it really inexpensively.
yeah, exactly.
Some people get caught up on like, oh, well, they don't get that it's not plaster and that it's like colored joint compound. And I end up telling people a lot, dude, don't worry about that. Like, it's inexpensive plaster. It doesn't matter what you call it or what it's called or anything like that. If you can do an affordable plaster on a wall without having to prep or do a bunch of laborious burnishing or whatever, who cares? Who cares what it's called? Yeah. This is Fresco Harmony. It's affordable. It looks beautiful when we're done. That's all they need to know. You know what I mean?
Yep. And, I tried to talk this client that I'm working on a house now in Lakeside. He wanted to first do his whole, because there's no lid in his living room and his entryway. So he wanted me to do the whole living space, but I didn't have any examples because he was hesitant because he wasn't exactly sure how it was going to turn out. So me not having sample boards is kind of putting me in a weird position to where they're just hoping that it's going to turn out nice.
Totally.
So
why don't you have sample boards?
Because I haven't ordered any products. I have the market and I haven't actually but I've done level 5. I've done level 4. I mean, I'm very familiar with, base coat, skim coat, and a lot of it is trial and error, I'm sure, and I just feel confident to know that I will have a beautiful finished product when it's all set.
No, you're an interesting case study to me because you're already out of the gate. You're like, dude, people want this finish. You've never even seen it. That's interesting to me. So definitely samples. So there's two things that sell Fresco Harmony. It's a color chart, which we send you when you order product. Now, there's two ways to get product. If you're like excited about doing it, like Cam, you can order product and I'll throw in an extra color pack if it's your first time ordering. Or you can request a sample pack and I'll send you a free color pack of Merriman beige and a little bit of sealer. And the purpose of that is to make a sample. And you get a color chart with it. So now you have a color chart, you have a sample, and now you can sell it. When you're in a position like you're asking me about grays specifically in your text. You're like, I want to know more about the grays. I've got a client that has a whole house. That's a different conversation a little bit. I'm still happy to send you an extra color pack, but now we're talking about, okay, Spencer wants to sell it. What's the best way for Spencer to sell it? And my suggestion would be, well, let's talk about grays. Let's talk about like get a quart of gloss, get a quart of satin, like have those two quarts, get like maybe three grays. We'll throw in the Merriman beige for free and make four samples. Now you've got like something you're ready to sell, especially with the grays. And then you're smart to reach out to me because I can tell you sort of what the grays look like. Okay, you've got Godin gray. That's a quintessential gray. And then we have all of our blue grays. And then we have like Galtiero Steel, which is really popular. That's like a really dark black. But then we have Midnight Dave, which is even more black. So depending on where you want to go. And then we have Hesher Port, which is like a white gray. It's like our light gray, which is beautiful. You know, you could do multiple square feet in that finish.
And I kind of want to have a better idea because I have a client now that's like that one that's 20,000 square feet of wall, and she wants to be able to do different colors throughout the house.
Right.
So, and that's a whole nother ball game. And then also
Yes.
being able to kind of determine how much product I need, how much sealer I need, which I know there's a certain amount of square footage that each bottle will do, and
Yeah.
each thing is sealer. But just to have somebody that I can call, that I can literally hands-on,
Totally.
has used all the products, they know exactly what's going on, and I think that's a huge resource for me. So that's why I was so excited when he picked up the phone. I was like, heck yeah, man, it's the guy. But
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
No, and you could reach out to Cam or you could reach out to Sean Ramsden or Chad Hesher or any of those dudes that are doing Fresco. They're super cool guys and they'll like be like, yeah, I'll talk to you about Fresco. I mean, everybody that's doing it is cool. We're all like in this together. We all want to see each other succeed with the product. That's kind of, I feel like that's why Fresco Harmony has had the success that it's had is because dude, this is new. I don't have like a customer service department that's never drywalled. Like I'm a drywaller. I've used this stuff for 20 years. Your success is my success. I don't want to just sell you product. I want you for you to go make money. Like that's the point. And then your clients be happy. That's what we're up to. 20,000
yeah,
square foot is a shitload, by the way. That's divided
it's a
by
400 sheet house, and then plus the garage is like another 100, so it's like a 500 sheet house. I have one coming up that's like a 7,000 square foot house, and it's just
fatties.
like an astronomical. Yeah, these people have money, man. They're not
Yeah.
messing around. They're
Okay.
but they're
So that is a formula. So we have people that are doing whole houses here. And then there's two conversations. There's a conversation about hang finish and Fresco Harmony. That is a tight one bid. So you're already there.
yeah,
So for you to like inflate the Fresco Harmony into the stratosphere would not be wise, in my opinion. I think you can charge an adequate rate. I think you can make money, especially on the first one. I would be super generous, but not too generous. You still want to make
yeah,
money. I would know where the painter is coming in with their bid. Now, also take into consideration, you're only hang finishing to a level 3, dude. No sand and you're going right into the base coat of Fresco Harmony. So you're at 20,000 square feet. This is a hypothetical. You're at 133 color packs. That's a fatty project.
yeah.
And then you have, every four color packs. So 133 divided by four. So you're at about 33 gallons of sealer as well. So a substantial amount of product, maybe five to $7,000 in product, more than that, maybe even 10K in product. So you take that, and you're looking at like your labor, of course, so you're going to have the extra labor. But the money that you make on the Fresco Harmony, think about this at 25 cents a square foot or 30 cents a square foot for material costs with the mud, like all in, like that, maybe that's not counting masking. You could even say 40 cents a square foot. Everything beyond that is going to be, minus labor is going to be your profit margin. So I'm not sure what your material cost is coming in for drywall and what your profit margin is, but you can kind of base your Fresco Harmony margin on that above and beyond your hang, finish, and texture cost.
So
You see what I'm saying?
I took your recommendation and bid it at $5 a square.
Okay.
I
Okay.
feel like that was plenty for
Perfect.
me. So it came in at like without the sealer, it was like 86,000. And then with the sealer, because I said $4 a square foot without the sealer and $5 a square foot with the sealer. And I think they're pretty
Okay.
interesting because they want that glossy finish. And so I need to get some sample boards made up and then bring them over there.
Yeah.
And pretty much just that way, because his wife is really interested in it. She's like, I want the Fresco. They're dead set on it.
I would
So
take it a step farther, even if they're dead set, dude. I would nail it down and do a wall. Once you
yeah,
have the color chart and the color packs, which could be there in 2 days, I would I would ask them if you could just do a wall, a small wall that they can look at, and it's gonna
yeah.
sell it like that. Like that's what really nails it down is when you do like a wall. So yeah, $5. So what are you charging, if you don't mind, for hang finish texture or hang finish smooth finish?
So a house like that, it's all 9 foot ceilings. Mostly, there's a smaller vault in the great room that's probably like 18 feet to the peak. So I'm typically charging about 225 to 250 a square foot, and that's hang tape and texture. And typically, what's
Okay.
going around here is just it's a Santa Fe finish, like a Santa Fe hand texture is really what
Yeah.
everybody wants, but they want it super thinned out. They don't like thick
Yeah.
edges.
It's the
So
same. That Santa Fe finish, by the way, is the same as a base coat of Fresco Harmony. So you're already adding the color to the mud. You're one step ahead.
yeah,
And because you're doing two coats, you don't have to grind out that finish coat with the Fresco Harmony.
I do have a Hispanic crew that's been helping me a lot because I
Okay.
just can't keep up, man. I'm on my own, so I want to get
Yeah.
them kind of trained up with Fresco as well.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
I can get them familiar, they've done a lot of level 5. We do like curve jam doors. We do I mean just a lot of detail, man. I mean I've
Nice.
done like top and ceilings and beautiful houses. I mean they're all really high end. So if I can try to
Nice.
implement this into my construction and my drywalls as much as possible, I mean I'm really interested. So
Right.
but and nobody else knows what it is. So it's a huge market, and that's maybe good for me, but it's not so good for you. So I do tell people about it, and I'm sure word's going to get around that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to be,
Your testimonial is going to help other people to sell it. And no, the market's wide open in Montana. It's wide open everywhere. If you want to
yeah,
make more money, this is a really good way to do that. You're taking a
yeah,
regular job that you would have made 250 a square foot on. What's your material cost for drywall right now on that 250 a square foot?
paying about. I got material through Pacific Supply now, so I'm kind of saving a
Okay.
little more money because the
Okay.
one of the supply stores kind of had the market really cornered. So Pacific
Yeah.
Supply, I'm anywhere from 40 to 50 cents a square,
Okay. All right.
and that's
So
for a 4 by 12 48, and then 54 board. I'm paying a little more, obviously, but
okay, so
reasonable
your
pricing.
profit margin on the Fresco Harmony at 35, 40 cents a square foot, I think it's easier than hang, finish, and texture. So your margin on that Fresco Harmony is going to be the same as hanging, finishing, and texturing a house. And I think the labor is less. I think you're doing
Yeah,
less labor. You're doing two coats of mud, one coat of sealer. Done. And you're asking $4 for no sealer. Now, this is for the listeners and I would seal. I would always seal. It doesn't even occur to me to sell it without sealer. Like it
I
just
figured.
finishes it. It looks better. It protects the wall a little bit. This stuff isn't bulletproof,
Yeah,
but it is stronger than like my competitors, some of my competitors. And the kicker is it's repairable.
yeah,
So because we're not discoloring the finish so much, like the shinier you get, the more difficult it is and the more complicated you get with your finish, like Cam's finish in that video, the more difficult it is to repair. So bear
yeah,
that in mind. The more footage you do, the less busy that you want to do and the lighter the color you go.
for
So
sure.
now that the pricing conversation's out of the way, when I'm talking, because people are going to look to you for like, oh, I want to get this beautiful Fresco Harmony stuff, they're going to just automatically assume that you're an expert in color theory, especially
Yeah,
if they don't have a designer. They're going to be like, well, what do you think, Spencer? What do you think I should pick? And it's like, dude, I'm a drywaller. I've never picked color in my life. Now that
yeah,
said, there's a formula that I've used that works really well when you're doing multiple amounts of square footage. Just like it's a three color system. You've got a dominant color for the ceiling throughout. You've got a dominant color for the walls throughout, and then you have your accent colors that you can do throughout. Now, that's just a starting point, but that's a great place for you to jump from. And
yeah,
if you're doing wall ceilings in a lighter color, like Hesher Port is a very light gray, or Gallery Pearl or Patterson Snow, very popular colors to do throughout. You're going to have less busyness on your finish, and you could also do walls and ceilings with a lighter
for sure.
color. A really
Yeah.
great way to do it also is lighter on the ceiling and a little darker walls. Patterson Snow on the ceiling or like Gallery Pearl on the walls.
I bet that looks so good. By the time
So
you do a
good.
full house like that, yeah, I bet, and it accents the other colors. And then I kind of market it like lots of different color variation and shading. So it's just something every builder. The only other thing I can do is market it to interior designers, the ones
Yeah.
that work with like the larger contractors. And then I think if I'll fly if I can really. And that was the biggest thing, is finding the market for it to begin with. And now that I know that there's a want and a need, now I can kind of move forward, in my next. And that's pretty much what I need to do. I need to have a large list of sample boards, for people to choose from, of your most popular colors. And then I have one now that this builder wants me to kerf jam doors, and then they want me to do a pop out wall of Martinez, or a lighter gray, one of the two.
Okay, so based on what you've told me, my suggestion for a potential order would be, because also I want people to familiarize themselves with the satin versus the gloss. And people get hung up on the word gloss. Even when you use a gloss Fresco Harmony finish, your wall is not going to be glossy. It's always going to be very muted. Fresco
Yeah,
Harmony is a muted look. Also, when you're talking to clients, they're used to picking paint. Paint is stark. And when you put it on the wall, sometimes you can think it looks white, but then you put it on the wall and you're like, oh my God, this room looks green, and that's very typical. And so people are really gun shy of color. What I tell them with Fresco Harmony is that um, it's way, way, way user friendly. So whether you're going with Patterson Snow or Gallery Pearl, you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the chillness of how it turns out because of the earthen nature of the medium. So that's a constant that I tell my clients, like, don't get so caught up in color, like whether it's Hesh or Port or maybe another light gray. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you like this. We can do an accent wall before we do the whole house, or we can even do a room. We can bust out four walls in a small office, no big
yeah.
deal before you guys choose to move forward.
And I always recommend that we can also do a color match. So if they have a color
Right.
in mind, then I can have them send that in, and then that way they're a little more comfortable with the process too. So they know what they're getting ultimately.
Right.
But I'm excited to see where it goes because
Yeah.
I have to work my butt off to make money, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I really do, and I just kind of sets me apart. The Fresco is a really interesting product that I'm pretty excited about.
If you can double your profit margin, I mean, and you have
Yeah,
clients that are willing to pay, they want, I think another thing too is we sell ourselves short. Your clients are looking for plaster. If you can offer plaster at 20% or 30% over the cost of finishing and painting, it's a
yeah,
no-brainer. And then beyond that, there's strategies for efficiency on how once you get a house under your belt, it's like, oh, okay, the next one we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then you get two houses under your belt, and it's like, oh, okay, we could spray out the base coat, and I could have two dudes troweling, and we can cut that base
yeah,
coat in half. And then it's like, oh, he offers like a spray sealer. We could spray out all the ceilings like nothing and just $1 a square foot. Imagine like the return on spraying out an entire ceiling or whatever. So the more you do, the more efficient that you get at the finish. So that said, I have a list of 5 colors that I would suggest, and you can tell me if you like the idea or not. It'd be like Patterson Snow, Hesher Port. You get a free Merriman Beige, so you wouldn't have to order that. And then I would go Golden Gray, which is a neutral gray, Gallery Pearl, and Martinez Storm. And then I would order a quart of gloss and a quart of satin. And then just be
beautiful.
aware that any orders over 150, so if you're hovering around $125 on your order, throw in an extra color pack or a quart of sand or something,
Okay.
because you're going to pay whatever the amount of a color pack and shipping. So you get free shipping on orders over 150. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
skinny.
And the micro cement's cool too, man. That's a whole nother ball game. Really. I mean, because
Yeah.
I that's perfect for fireplace mantles. And then I love the way that the sealer looked on the sand finish with that fireplace. It was that the guy was kind of on the older, but it was that I think he was doing a Martinez and then
Mm-hmm.
Martinez black and then or is it Martinez Storm?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Okay. And then he added the sealer to it, and I mean there was just so much different color variation. I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is cool. And
So
so I just
go ahead.
yeah, it's an interesting look, and that's something I want to get more familiar with too, because I mean people love that in bathrooms and mantles and accent
Yeah.
walls, and I just want to get a couple sample boards for sure. But
Yeah, and then
yeah,
JJ Ash too. We've done some bathrooms in JJ Ash, but basically it's called Industrial 60 silica sand. It's a fine silica sand, and we've done whole parade of homes houses. Elite Drywall has a system where they're spraying out the base coat of Fresco Harmony with like a gray coat, like the
yeah,
Mark III or whatever, Mark V. I don't know what it's called, but like they've done a couple houses now where they spray the entire base coat half a day, dude. And then they go into the because you don't get the two coats operating together on the sand finish. The sand finish is like Structilite. It sits over your base coat and
yeah,
it like sits up and it's more of a neutral finish. So all you do is spray out your base coat and then you go into your sand finish and then you seal that. And that is a really slick way to do it. It looks like micro cement, but you add a quart of sand per batch. That's it. And if you're doing this amount of square footage, just find a bag of the industrial 60 sand.
gotcha,
I'm Of course we can send you quartz. I give you a deal on like a bunch of quartz, but I sell it as like a just for people to try out. Or if you're doing one or two projects, you don't need a bag of silica sand hanging around your shop. You can just do a batch and or two batches and knock it out. But that sand finish is totally different than the regular finish.
yeah.
And that's your micro cement look, especially with gray.
Definitely. Yeah, I need to get as soon as I get those color packs, I'm gonna be at work in my garage and then I'm gonna make sure that I have something to show my clients. And that's pretty much
Yeah.
what it comes down to. So but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited, man. I
Very cool.
appreciate
And
you
then
reaching out to me.
Yeah, so let me know if you want a sample pack, or if you want to go ahead and order. I will text you like the list that I just named off, and you'll be off to the races. We can throw in some sand, and we could talk about that later, how to make sand sample without wasting a whole batch of material. And you'll get color charts, dude. I'll throw in like 5 to 10 color charts, and you'll be off to the races.
Oh man, he's trying to load me up with stuff because I'm
Okay.
parked in. But dude, I appreciate all the time that you've spent, and
Yeah. No, me
I'm really
too.
looking forward to working with you. But yeah, I've got so much going on, dude.
Yeah,
But
Spencer, I really appreciate it, man. And we'll be in touch. We'll talk soon.
awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right, later.
Bye, sir.
Huge shout out to Spencer for taking a few minutes and also sharing this phone conversation with our audience. Lots of good intel there. If you want to hear Spencer's full audio episode, it's 107 on the Drywall Podcast. You can catch it on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, and everywhere that you listen to your podcast. Join us next week. We've got a special episode. Another person from close to the Northwest in Idaho, Chris. Stay tuned for that. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for listening to the Drywall Podcast. And remember, keep drywalling.